Hello and happy Sunday once again, Chiefs Kingdom. This is your Kingdom Corner episode for Week 4, brought to you by myself, Danilo DiGiulio, aka ThunderDan88 on social media. You can find my channels on Twitch Prime and YouTube and Facebook Gaming, as well as Twitter. You can see extra content of mine on there. This week's brought to you a little bit late, in large part by the unexpected happening that we all expected to happen. Unpredictable, let's call it, rather than unexpected. As I mentioned before, the ever-hanging, ever-present sword of Damocles, that is the COVID-19 coronavirus, has fallen on the NFL this week. It first hit the Tennessee Titans, who at last count had 18 people associated with their team, players, coaches, staff members, that were infected with COVID-19. That has ultimately postponed their game with Pittsburgh to later in the season. And the latest predicament we faced is now with our Kansas City Chiefs, as Cam Newton, the opposing team's quarterback, the Patriots, has been tested positive for COVID-19, as has the scout team quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Jordan Ta'amu. Much less impactful, but nonetheless important, because the teams had to go ahead and do accelerated testing and do some contact tracing, things like that, to find out if this was going to be an outbreak, because the Tennessee situation started out with 4 or 5 people, then 8, then 9, and as I said, is now at around 18 or more. I'm not sure. Hopefully all those people that have tested positive are doing the responsible thing, self-quarantining, contacting anyone that they may have come in contact with to let them know they may or may not be positive for COVID-19 at this point, so that they can contact the people that they know, et cetera, et cetera. But let's move on. The situation as it stands now, last report I saw was from Adam Schefter that the game is going to go ahead tomorrow night, Monday night, which should be considered doubly bad news for the New England Patriot fans out there, because not only are you losing your quarterback, because he will not be available tomorrow. He's going to be in quarantine. So they're going to have to go with a backup quarterback. The second string quarterback thus far this season has been Brian Hoyer. We'll touch on that in a second. Secondly, it's showtime. It's prime time football again. And Patrick Showtime Mahomes, as great as he is, he elevates his game in primetime matchups. It could get ugly really fast. It could be a end of third quarter. Pat, that's good enough. You done great. We got 40. We're up 30. Chad, get in there and get some reps. I don't know. I'm not predicting that, because Bill Belichick is a genius. He's a football genius. He'll make lemonade out of limes and oranges somehow. He doesn't even need lemons. He'll figure it out. So defensively, they could be a problem still. Offensively, however, let's get back to that matchup. The best case scenario, I think, for them right now is Brian Hoyer. He's the most experienced. He's shown ability in the league. But his last meaningful reps were in 2015 with the then Deshaun Watson-less Houston Texans. Let's talk about that season for a second. At the end of that year, I don't know if people recall this, but I recall, because it was largely affected by the Kansas City Chiefs. Brian Hoyer was ridden out of town on a rail. That season, they were the Hard Knocks team, and there was quarterback competition between he and Ryan Mallett. Yeah, who? Yeah, exactly. Ryan Mallett's still floating around out there somewhere in the ether. I don't know who he's with right now, but it doesn't matter. He's not a relevant quarterback in this league. Brian Hoyer has had moments where he's had to rise to the occasion. Some he's played well, some he's played exceptionally well, some he's played really poorly. That season, however, I felt, and I mentioned this in previous articles I've written, that he got a raw deal. But I think Brian Hoyer got a raw deal. That said, who do you think's better going into tomorrow night? The surging Chiefs defense, coming off a game against Baltimore where they dominated. People questioned them the week before because, rookie quarterback, you shouldn't be. Rookie quarterback with all kinds of talent, they weren't expecting to play against that. You prepare a certain way. It takes a minute to get your head out of that space. You don't just vacillate. Athletes get focused and get honed in on a way they're going to approach a game. When you change things up that largely, some teams don't recover at all till the game's over. It's too late. Then you got to hope you get a chance again later in the season. Chiefs recovered. Chiefs controlled the game at a certain point and won the football game. Patrick and the offense came around. Okay? Last week, dominance, start to finish. Okay, they took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, in my opinion. I think they could have put up 45 plus against Baltimore. They didn't. They won. They won handily. That's good enough. But who do you think's better? Again, the Chiefs' surging defense that's been just improving in my eyes since week 11 of last season, especially if you don't go all the way back to the Broncos game after the Tennessee game, forget it. You didn't want to play that. That team was a sawmill. It was a buzzsaw coming at you. But that Chiefs defense has been steadily improving. Meanwhile, Brian Hoyer has been wearing a ball cap, toting a clipboard, studying plays, undoubtedly going through mental reps, undoubtedly throwing to practice squad, throwing to whoever he can get the chance to throw to, because I think that's the kind of consummate professional he is. And I think he'll acquit himself well enough as a professional to not look horrible. But dude, I was preparing to do this video to play down the whole Cam Newton effect, because people are talking about, oh, big mobile quarterback with a big arm. The only thing he's got on Lamar Jackson, sorry, Jamal Sanders, Lamar Jackson, the only thing Cam Newton has on Lamar is he's bigger than number 8, purple and black. That's it. Lamar's got a bigger arm. Lamar's more accurate, in my opinion, at this point in his career. Lamar's much faster and much shiftier. All Cam Newton was going to do, if they played today, was get hit a lot. A lot. Cam Newton's a big boy, you say. He can take some punishment. He would have been having flashbacks to the Super Bowl against Denver. It would not have been a pretty sight. I guarantee you this. Mike Pennell, Chris Jones, guys like that, they're not getting run over by Cam Newton. They're the guys that put Cam Newton on his back. First, they throw gigantic offensive linemen out of the way. Then they crush your quarterback. And the way he had been leaning towards the run versus the pass this young season, it probably was not going to end well for him. This affliction, granted, he doesn't come down with any maladies, and it's asymptomatic, and he coasts through it and he recovers. Trusting that happens, this is the best thing that could have happened to him this week, because he's not going to get embarrassed. He's not going to take the punishment that Chiefs defense is going to dish out, and he's not going to be responsible for the L they're going to take. They were going to take an L with Cam. They're going to take an L with Brian Hoyer, Jarrett Stidham, fill in random quarterback here in the blank right. I'll give you room for it right there. Okay. If you don't believe me that the Brian Hoyer stuff is overblown and it was more about O'Brien, why don't you ask Deshaun Watson, get him alone in a room and talk to him for 5 minutes, and maybe bring in, hey, DeAndre Hopkins, Nuke, come on in here. Let's talk to you too. Like, is it the coach or is it the player? Just saw news today that the Texans locker room was up in arms because they heard the team was going to sign Earl Thomas, much maligned safety, gave his one of these 3 fingers, read between the lines, he gave to the fans in Seattle. Said it was just for the coach, but yeah, national TV, looked real good. Earl looked really good on you. Suffered a broken leg, horrible, sucks, unfortunate. Giving people the finger going off the field, just classless move, dude. Just not a good, smart move. Then couldn't ingratiate himself with a team like Baltimore, who's all about team and players. And if you're a guy that's willing to work hard, say what you want about Marcus Peters, Chiefs fans. Marcus Peters is a baller. Marcus Peters wants to win. Is he immature? Yes. Is he impetuous? Absolutely. Does he freelance a little too much? You know he does. We went through that with Dale Carter back in the day. It's tough. It's tough having a guy that's that potentially great on your team that can be that potentially roasted as well, as we saw last week. Didn't matter. Perfect coverage versus perfect throw versus leaping Tyreek Hill, you're losing. It's like what he was there. What's he supposed to do? But he's a good guy as far as the team goes. They love Marcus Peters. The team's players for the Houston Texans were saying, no, thank you. We do not want Earl in this locker room. Do not make this happen, coach. And apparently there was a lot of infighting going on. It's not the game our game this week. Just wanted to touch on the fact that who you have in the locker room matters. The Kansas City Chiefs have established a locker room full of players who are alpha dogs and hard workers. Coaches who are great leaders and educators. This week should be a clinic. Tomorrow night, if you're trying to coach a team, Pee-wee, whatever it be, all the way through up, a football team, in your town, in your school, whatever it may be, watch the Monday Night Football game. The Kansas City Chiefs should be putting on a clinic. The Patriots defense will also likely be putting on a clinic. I just feel that they don't have the weapons. Again, forget just the Cam Newton versus Lamar comparison. They saw the best version of mobile quarterback with a big arm, and they shut him down in Baltimore. Cam is not better than Lamar. They were going to shut him down. Not just because of Cam and who he is versus Lamar, but they don't have the weapons that Baltimore has. They do not have the weapons. They have not had weapons like Baltimore since Randy Moss left. Okay, say what you want about Gronk. Say what you want about Edelman and Wes Welker over the year. Baltimore's just got speed and talent all over the place. The running backs, forget it. No contest. Patriots have had a platoon of solid guys. But ask any fantasy player, who you starting in the Patriots backfield, and they're going to pull their hair out and say, I don't know, because Belichick is crazy. No, it's not because Belichick's crazy. Because Belichick runs the hot hand. He likes to ride the hot hand in the backfield. Last week it was Burkhead. Every week it's Cam. This week there's no Cam. Rex Burkhead will not beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Sony Michel, who's lost a lot, it seems, since a couple years ago playing them in Foxborough, is not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs without adequate weapons on the outside and without a quarterback of higher standard than Brian Hoyer at this point in his career. If they surge and somehow start mounting points and mounting an attack against Kansas City Chiefs, you are going to see Patrick Magic Mahomes pull out the wand that is his right arm and start making magic happen. I think it should be an educational game. I think at least for portions of it, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be competitive. I think the Patriots are largely outmatched, and if they're not equally outplayed, again, kudos to the golden mind that is Bill Belichick. Andy Reid's no slouch. Andy Reid has been dialing this game in since the schedule came out. I guarantee you. Whether he talks about it, it's like, okay, got to beat John, got to beat Bill. Tom's over in Tampa Bay now, got to beat him and Bruce. I guarantee you, he knows which mind heads, which groups, quarterback, coach combos are going to be the toughest to deal with and to match point for point. He's trusting his defense to handle those guys, but he's got to match them on the offensive side of the ball. This week, I feel we're going to be looking at about a 34-13 Chiefs victory. Let's call it 34. Let's call it 32-13 because the Chiefs have already scored 34 twice in two different games. So I don't think they're going to keep scoring 34 every week. They scored 23 against the Chargers to win that game. But I think 32 sounds about right. If it gets out of hand, it could be 45 in a hurry. But that's all I got for you today. Thanks for coming out again. It was a long one here on Kingdom Corner. Glad to entertain you guys. Sorry it's a little late. Apologies. Sorry that I said sorry. My Canadian side came out there. Like, every once in a while I get excited, especially when I talk about football or if I talk about acting, and the accent gets comfortable and falls back into my childhood. It happens. I'm not going to apologize. Canada's a beautiful country. So is America. Love it. Was born here. Love living here. Go Chiefs. Chiefs win 32-13. You heard it here first. Once again, this is Thunder Dan 88, Danilo DiGiulio, coming at you from Kingdom Corner for Week 4. Brought to you by RGR Football and all the gang over there. They're doing great work. Check out the videos with Dan Harms and Ryan Tracy. It's good stuff. Every once in a while we get some guy named Derek in there too, and he's pretty awesome from Chiefs Digest. Check it out. Until next week, folks, stay healthy. Take this virus seriously. Wear a mask. Contact trace. Stay home if you can. Stay home and watch some football.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.